Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Naked Truth Podcast.
Take you made that?
So today's topic is going to be about commitment. And we're going to start off with this topic on whether or not work demands your attention and what you got to sacrifice based on that job that you chose. And we're talking about a luxurious job where you are paid for your talents and skills that you have spent many, many years preparing for, to have this once in a lifetime opportunity to play in the National Basketball Association League, NBA. And so we're talking tonight about a certain player, Minnesota Timberwolves. Are we ready to talk about that one?
I'm ready to talk about it.
You
Let's talk
sure?
about it.
So Rudy Gobert, he missed game 2 in Denver after flying home for the birth of his son, right?
Right.
Now, they played on Monday night. His fiance, I should put that as a tidbit, not his wife, but his fiance. Well, and we're gonna tackle whether or not the relationship matters, because it doesn't matter if it's a girlfriend, fiance, wife, baby mama. But yes, his baby mother, his fiance, gave birth to their son early Monday. And so one would think he had time to get back to Denver. And the baby was born in Minneapolis. So it ain't like he going like Florida, somewhere far. Minneapolis is pretty close to Denver. Mm-hmm. And he didn't come back in time for tip-off at 10 o'clock in Denver. Well, 10 o'clock Eastern, of course, which would be, 8 o'clock local time, I guess. I don't know. I don't do the time difference. So
Denver is 2 hours, so that it would be 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a situation where we're going to talk about whether or not, a job that pays you millions and millions of dollars to sacrifice some things that us normal people who don't have those extra commas and zeros have to worry about or may ever see. But I'm going to see it because I'm going to claim my prosperity. So whether or not, he should have came back and played. And so if you're in a job that is demanding so much of you, is it to be expected that you got to hit and run pretty much? You got to go see your baby, do whatever, and come back in time to play. And so I want to hear your opinion. Did he make a good choice?
I think he made an absolute perfect choice. I know he has a commitment to play basketball because that is his job and that is what brings in all the big bucks. But 1, this is his first child. 2, he is taking a moment to make a sacrifice to be there for his family. And I think that is commendable. Point blank, period. Like, to be able to, 1, experience the birth of your child, 2, then continue to stay around and make sure the baby is good, your fiance is good, like spend that family time in that moment, I think is very commendable.
Now, are we talking about a new age type of athlete, or is this just this doesn't matter? Like, would we see a Michael Jordan do something like that?
I don't think the generation of the athlete matters, right? I think it's all about priorities. And to me, I would think that he has a different set of priorities as it relates to his family and his job. And there's nothing wrong with your priority being family first.
And so we never said he can't go home to see his son. We never said that on this call, on this recording, right? We just said that the baby was born at 10. It's just early in the morning. I don't know how early is early, but early could be, even if it was 8 o'clock in the morning, he still had 12 hours to get back to Denver after. What did you say when you have a baby? You're entitled to that skin to skin, warming, whatever,
Yes.
as a first parent. He had all the time to do all that and still get back in time for work.
Yeah, but
Because
I think it's one of those things where we have to realize that sometimes it's not about showing up for 2 seconds, seeing the moment, getting that skin to skin connection, and then dipping, right? It's about being there for the whole time that you can be there. Now, could he have left early and gone back to Denver to play? Yes, absolutely. But I firmly believe that in his mind, he felt like this is my family. This is more important. I'm going to stay here as long as I can. If I miss the game, I miss the game. It's just one game.
but you're not playing by yourself. You're playing with a team. So a team is relying on every player to do their part, right?
Yes, but the
And
team should
so
also understand.
hold on. So as a teammate, do I think it's selfish of you? One, I don't know why you have kids that are going to be potentially delivered around playoff slash the finals time. You need to work through that. Get your planning together because you're being real reckless. It's always playoffs or finals around April, May, June. I don't know what you're doing. You slipping, bruh. But also, again, I'm not going to stop you because I've seen people run off the field, like in football, to go see their child being born. But of course, that's in a local situation. But what if she went into labor while he was playing? Was he going to stop the game and say, I got to sub out, I got to go see my lady about my kid? Like, you got to finish the game. So it's almost the same thing where you got to do your part, but come back because now luckily this is game 2 we're talking about. But what if this was game 6 or 7 where this could really determine whether or not they can move forward? Because remember, like, one bad night can totally throw everything off.
I don't disagree with that. But one, you can't necessarily plan on when a baby is born. You just never know when the baby is going to come. Sometimes the baby comes early, sometimes the baby comes late. Like, there is no, oh, I'm going to get you pregnant and we're going to have this baby before the playoffs. It don't always work that way because the baby decides when they want to come. Because sometimes they may come early and
That's
sometimes they
true.
may come late. Like,
But sometimes people plan their babies,
they
and you can
tried their
plan
best
within
to plan their babies, yes,
right.
but it doesn't always work out that way because, again, you can't accurately predict when a baby is going to be born because
You
sometimes
can
they come early and sometimes they come late.
exactly. So for me, if it takes 9 months to have a child, right? A full gestation. So that means to me, either you can be born in the summertime because if you wait too late, I mean, I guess you're in the preseason, and maybe I'll give you grace for missing games like in the October, November era when the NBA starts playing again. But like you can't be having like due dates that happen between April through June.
Why not?
So you got to push the 3 months either forward or backwards
That's
because
ludicrous.
Because again, you are paid millions of dollars. This is not back in the day when people were paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even a WNBA player who doesn't even get. We don't even talk about that, like how much they get paid. But at the end of the day, these people are paid millions of dollars to play a season, not year round. Okay, a season of I think 32 games. I can't remember what's the statistic. Don't hold me. I think 64. I don't know. Anyway, they're paid a certain amount to play a certain amount of games per year for a season, and you're expected to be available during this time. So then, I mean, to me, I'm like, what do you think people do who are in the military?
But here, so that's
How's
just
this
like
is different?
that's just like telling an actress you can't get pregnant during the taping of a season of a show. They can and they do.
If
The
if you're
studio
a good
figured
actor,
out a way
actually,
to work around it. Either
if
they
you're a good
write the character out while she's pregnant, or they cover up her belly so that it doesn't look like that person's pregnant, or they write her into the script as being pregnant. Like
But those
you
are
figure,
risky things because you could also lose your job because if a studio says, "Look, these are my rules: do not get pregnant," and you still go ahead and get pregnant, that means that you are throwing the dice on whether or not what comes with it.
and that's the risk or that people take. It's their choice, and it's all about a person's priority and what they view as important for them. And obviously, he viewed his family and being there for the birth of his child and staying however long was more important than being at game two, because it's
These
not always about the money.
these families know what they're getting into when they are being involved with a professional athlete, that this is what comes with it. Like you don't see Sierra complaining about moving from Seattle to Denver to now Pittsburgh. She just pack her bags and leave, right? Because it's I go where my man go.
Well, I
And
think
so
moving is different than
I'm
having.
just saying, but there's a certain commitment that you know that comes with this type of job that you gotta do what you gotta do. And if that meant like, hey, I only got 6 hours with my man after my baby being born, I still want him to. I mean, as a woman, I would hope she'd be like, you need to go back out there and win this game because we need to win the finals. We need to come home with a championship ring because when you do good, we all doing good at home. You know what I mean? We can have millions of babies.
And maybe she did. Maybe she did tell him to go, and maybe he said, "I want to stay here with you."
She should have kicked him out and said, "You gotta go." I'm sorry,
Yeah,
like
that's crazy. That is
I'm
crazy.
telling you again, but I'm saying, but what about the military people? They don't have a choice sometimes, right? They don't get to say, "Oh, wait, let me come off this war field and go see the birth of my baby." No, you know what they did? Like, I mean, I was part of the USO. They were lucky enough sometimes to be in a situation where they can come into a USO and watch the birth of their baby virtually. But guess what? They have their little moment. They kumbaya with their family, and then they got to go back out and finish the mission or whatever. And so to me, I'm like, that is something that should be expected. Like, I don't care if you commuting between Minneapolis and Denver. Like, you go see your baby, you go play your game, you come back. In fact, I'm gonna dunk the hardest that night because my baby, my first boy child is born. Like, that should be my motivation. I think these athletes are getting too soft. Like, you getting paid way too much money to be like, oh, I gotta think about my family.
I don't think it's a thing of being solved. Again, I think it's what is important to that person and what their priority is. And clearly, his priority was his family, which is nothing wrong with that. I think people are getting bent out of shape because people don't understand that everybody's priority is not going to be to the game or to the money that they make. Sometimes their priority may be to their family. Their family to them may come first. And if he's willing to throw it all away for his family,
Then don't play team sports.
bravo, brother, bravo.
Don't play team sports. If you're gonna make those kind of decisions, don't play team sports because you know what? If Serena wants to come off and say, "I don't want to play anymore. I want to have a kid," guess who? Guess who she did disappoint? Nobody else but herself. If I mean, even if we call it a disappointment, whatever the commitment that she has is only to herself. But when you're playing a team sport, especially one that is very critical like basketball, where I mean, football is still the same where like I mean, there's more than one like backup people on the bench, whatever that you can rely on. But with basketball, it's only so many people, and you're paying top dollar to be that guy on the court.
So let,
And huh?
let me ask you this question: did they win or did they lose?
They won.
Okay,
They
so
won. They won.
what are we talking about
However,
here? They
however,
won.
however, what if they didn't win? And what
What
if
they
this was
did?
the beginning of the losing streak that started because we felt like we were disappointed by one person not upholding their commitment? You
And
joined a
that would be
team.
then that would be something that he would have to work out with his coach and teammates. But clearly, him missing that game did not affect them winning because they won without him.
Well, I'm gonna tell you like to everybody else, ain't no one person gonna stop this show, no monkey, whatever you want to call it. The show will keep going.
Absolutely, as it
So
should.
now, if you come back and you don't got no more playtime because you've been replaced, I want to hear your mouth. Don't be talking about, well, what about me? Well, I'm gonna get some more minutes. No, you picked your family, right? So sit your family side, family business on the bench while the people who figured it out without you are gonna keep playing.
And you know what? He may not have a problem with that because at the end of the day, he's still getting paid.
Yeah, for this season, but he may get traded or whatever after this one because they said we don't want nobody who's being quote unquote selfish.
Well, if he gets traded, then he'll go to another team.
Who's going to want to pick up a selfish player like that?
Somebody will pick him up.
Somebody that may be desperate.
Doesn't matter if they're desperate or not. Somebody will still pick him up.
But guess what? Again, but remember what I said earlier. You don't know what can happen. God forbid, I don't call no hex or no, but I can't even call that because whatever's destiny is destiny. But if you fall, break your leg, whatever, like that's it. That's the end of your career. And if are you going to be okay walking away saying, I chose the birth of my baby over the possibility of winning a championship with this one team because of my, self first, decisions.
Well, at the end of the day, he's gonna have to be okay with it because that's the choice that he made. And if he chose to choose his family, I would think that he had thought through all of the consequences and things of him missing game two and how that could affect whatever decision that he made. And I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure it probably wasn't an easy decision for him, but he and his mind and heart felt like he made the best decision for him and his family, and that was to be there for his family.
So you don't think an athlete should ever have to consider their team when they make decisions? Personal decisions.
It depends on the personal decision.
Right. Well, let's talk about it. What's a personal decision that would be that's allowed but not allowed? Like clearly, the birth of a baby and spending 24 hours of your PTO or what is it called? Your FMLA, whatever it is, to be with your child is more important than getting back to the game. What else? What else is okay? What if I said I don't want to play a whole game? No, I'm only going to do 15 minutes a quarter. What if I started saying stuff like that?
Then obviously that wouldn't be acceptable.
I got to think about my family. I don't want to be too tired when I get home to hold my baby and
I would
stay up
hope
to watch my
nobody
kid.
would use that excuse. Because if that's the case, then you might as well just sit on the bench. There's no need for you to play. I think things like a birth of a first child or losing a parent or losing, your wife or whatever, or even
Listen,
losing a child. Like those things are, in my opinion, important things where people have to prioritize what is most important to them.
I'm going to say this, and to whoever's listening, if I die, when I die, because it will happen, of course, but hopefully not anytime soon. But if it comes on a day that you are about to do something incredible, do not spend your time in misery or mourning me or whatever. Get that shit done and make me proud, and then we have time to mourn and grieve my transition. because at the end of the day, life keeps on going. I'm done. I'm gonna be 6 feet in the grave. Now, I ain't said just completely forget about me now. I ain't said that. I don't want to have to come back and haunt you. And I'm just kidding. But at the same time, like I would want somebody to keep pushing, keep driving. Like that's how you honor me. Because if I wasn't in the grave, I would be at the sideline rooting you on on the court. You know what I mean? Like I want you to make the most points in this game. I want you to have the biggest dunk. I want you to do everything in my honor. Like use that pain, that hurt to drive to give your best until it's time to like grieve. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I like to always say I'm a big deal, but at the end of the day, too, I also know that I'm only one little speck in this big world that we belong to. That the world keeps spinning, no matter what. So I would never feel comfortable saying, "Hey, everybody needs to have like a 10 days of mourning, and nobody can do anything and have fun or go to work or anything like that because of me." That's just me.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I think everybody is wired different, right? You may have some people that'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to play this game for Will because that's what he would have wanted me to do," right? And then you may have some people that are wired and said, "I can't play this game in this moment because I am too overcome with grief." Neither of those are a right or wrong
No,
situation. It
you're right.
is about how the person is wired, what is important to that person in that moment, and how they prioritize things that are important to them. Right? The person that goes and plays the game after you pass away doesn't mean that his choice was any less important than the person that said, "I can't play this game in this moment." Like it's really about a person's priority and how they feel what is important to them in their life. And I think for the basketball player, him being with his family was more important for him in that moment. Now you may have other basketball players that may be like, "I'll go after the game." Or you may have other basketball players that may be like, "I'm going to go see the birth and then I'm going to leave and go back and play the game." It's all about each individual's person's preference of what is important to them.
Right. But what we're talking about today is whether or not that preference should matter when you are playing in a team sport because
Yeah.
you are now connected to other people who are relying on you.
And I get that, but I think it's all subjective. Like I just feel like it's hard for us to determine what somebody's preference of importance is just because of the job that they have and what it encompasses. And clearly, the team did well without him.
They
So,
didn't know that. They have to just play and figure it out or hope for the best.
and they did. So
What if they didn't?
what was really lost? There was nothing that was really lost by him spending that extra time with his family because the team still won the game.
Yes, this time. But what if they didn't? What if something happened? What were you gonna say then?
If something happened, then again, that is something that he would have to figure out and discuss with his coach and teammates. And they would have to work from there. But I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we as a society put too much emphasis and pressure on celebrities, and I use that in quotation marks, or people that, are in the public eye to have to make certain decisions that we probably would not make if we were in their shoes.
But we're also not people being paid millions of dollars, and I'm not paying 150 plus to sit in an arena to see you play for one night. So mind you, this isn't like, oh well, I'm just going to work, and so I need to determine if I need to punch my clock in my local DC job or watch my baby being born. I'm talking about me who choose to be a part of a draft and be selected by one of the teams to be then paid millions of dollars in salary. That's your salary. I'm not even talking about endorsements or anything like that. To the expectation that you come out and play your best game every game.
Yeah, but that does not always mean that that person is going to play every game.
And you look, we have Ben Simmons, somebody like Ben Simmons who hasn't played any games because he said he has mental health issues that he's trying to battle. Do you think that's fair for him to keep saying that and teams are suffering because he's not doing his part? Well, he's getting paid, right? He's picking his priority, he's picking his family, he's picking himself.
Listen, if he has well documented known mental health issues and that's his rationale, then the teams have one or two choices: drop him and release him from his contract and send him on his way, or keep him on the bench.
So you're going to drop somebody who's going through a mental health issue?
If they cannot commit to the job that they were asked to perform, and that it's constantly it's not that they're missing one game, but they're missing every game because they're saying, oh, I have a mental health issue, then you're not any service to the team.
I mean, he could come back tomorrow. We don't know. But he says, I just can't play. So who's to say when you want to cut him, that's the day he said, you know what, I think I can beat my issues today. I feel better.
And that's great.
You said to cut him.
You can go play on another team now that you're back.
How is that different? How are you more lenient to a guy who wants to spend exorbitant amount of time with a child? I never said on this thing to miss the birth. He was able to be there in time to watch the birth, did the skin to skin, all that, and still make it back to work in time. But this guy, Ben Simmons, who just, I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose. And my heart always goes out to people who are battling mental health issues. I'm definitely somebody that is all for getting all the help that you can. So no matter if you are a $1 million NBA player or somebody who works at McDonald's, like everybody needs to speak to somebody to get help. And May is Mental Health Month. We'll talk about that in another episode. However, again, like, is it fair for him to? Some people may say that's selfish of him. Like, he had time to go to the Met Gala. He had time to show up to those things, but he ain't got time to show up on the court.
Well, see, here's the difference between those two players. Missing one game is totally different than missing several games because you don't have the mental capacity to play.
But what if it's missing one key game, though? You were saying one game, but what if it's that one key game versus, this string of games?
I don't think the status of the game matters, right? Because here's the thing. They still won without him. So there was no loss to the team. And if they had lost, then that would have been the moment that the coach and the team would have had to make or have some conversations with him about missing that game. But that didn't happen. They still won the game without him. They were able to figure it out, do what they need to do to win the game, to secure their spot going forward in the playoff. But even if they had lost that game, it's still only game 2. So it would have been one game that they would have lost. I just don't see it as big of a deal as people are trying to make it. But
you're not a teammate on an NBA team. You are talking as a fan or just somebody on the sidelines making a decision, right? But think about it. Like you could even do like a pledge process, which of course, whatever fraternities, sororities that you belong to, especially those of the NBHC, we do not condone any hazing activities of the such. But hopefully, if you are being brought in correctly, you are still brought in with the hopes and connection of bonding with people together in whatever membership intake process that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
But in those cases, there are going to be times where you're going to rely on other people.
Correct.
And if those people don't show up and do what they're supposed to do, then you get dropped from the line, right?
No, because I've known plenty of people that have went through a process with their organizations and missed several nights, and they didn't get dropped from the line. They still crossed.
Should they have?
No, they should not have, especially if they had a valid reason for not being there.
But the valid reason is going to be always subjective. But at the end of the day, we're talking about commitment. And so if you are joining an organization, you are joining an NBA team, you are joining the Chick-fil-A drive-through line, whatever, you are expected to come to work and do a job that you are paid to do.
Yes, but there may be some moments where you can't go to the job to do what you're supposed to do, and your teammates should be understanding and pick up the slack to help move the organization or the team forward. One monkey being absent don't stop the show. The show still got to go on.
Oh, the show will go on, but we're not talking about the effects of a drive-through line that's backed up because we are one person short on the cook line. We're not talking about a doctor who has to work overtime because another doctor didn't get a chance to work the shift that they were supposed to work, or even a nurse or whatever. Like all these things have effects, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, is it really about you taking the time to take care of something that could have been limited? We're not saying, I'm never saying don't ever pick your family over your job, because I'm HR professional. I always say fix your family home first, because clearly that's who you got to go home to. This job will keep on going. They will put your position on LinkedIn. At the end of the day, if you are removed for whatever reasons, both physically and or termination. So at the end of the day, yes, please pick your family. But it's about balance we're talking about. Could he have still done what he did, which was to go see the birth of his baby and come back in time? Or whatever it is that we're asking, you know, these people who are paid millions of dollars to consider.
Yes, he very well could have possibly done that. But did he choose to do that? No, he did not.
Okay. Well, that wraps up another episode of our take on what's hot and trending. Tune in to another episode where we get naked and tell the truth. Shame
The
the
whole
devil.
truth and nothing but the truth.
Ain't nothing but the truth.
Thank you for listening to The Naked Truth. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms at The Naked Truth.